This 10-minute video introduces the Activity Manager. It is an excerpt from one of our live recorded webinars on summer camps. Please enjoy.
So I'm going to just give you a brief introduction to Activity Manager and how that might be used for summer camps and other kinds of activities that you might have. Take a quick look at some of the setup and then how you can apply it to the individual families. So basic setup for Activity Manager occurs under the configuration menu at the top under System Settings, just like all the configuration does. You'll find it under Data Management, and then it's part of Scheduling. Now there is one good thing to know, and Doug already talked a bit about setting up work areas and or classrooms for summer camps. Work areas are important if you're going to have activities occurring in a place other than a normal classroom. So let me just take you into my work areas right now. I've set up a few extra ones that I didn't normally have on my classroom list. So I may have some summer programs that are going on in an art room or a science room, or if I'm at sort of a YMCA or a place with a swimming pool, I might be having it at the pool or at auxiliary gym. Or maybe I have activities like soccer or something else outdoors that might happen on a field, like field 1, field 2, field 3, and so forth. So if you're going to be having activities occur at other places other than your typical classrooms, you would set those up first. Then I'm going to go into Activity Manager. It's down here, Activities. We'll double click on that. And I've got some categories already set up. So these are some of the overall categories, and there are a couple of different ways you might do that. If you have a summer camp that say goes on for several weeks or all summer long, but it's basically the same camp every week. It's kind of a continuation of a preschool program or something else that you might have been doing during the school year, and each week of camp is more or less the same. You can sign up for weeks 1, weeks 2, weeks 3, but they aren't different camps. Then I would probably create a single category called Summer Camp, and I'm going to go in and click Manage. And then I've set up the different weeks that camp might occur. So I've got week 1 starting here, week 2 starting there. And if I wanted to add a third week to that, I could double click on one of the weeks I have. And I've already got it set up with a title, week 2. This particular activity does not have a prerequisite. That means you didn't have to be in some previous camp in order to sign up for this one. And I've got my start and end dates in there. So if I want to add a new activity, for say the next week, if I want it to be this exact same thing but just give it a different date range of a different week, I can say copy, and I can say yes, I'd like to copy the current one, and it says week 2 copy, so then I'll just change the name of that and call it week 3, and then all I need to do is change my start and end dates, and let's say week 3 begins on the 24th and ends on the 28th. I've already got my location. This particular camp is happening in my kindergarten room on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Mary Jones is the instructor. So I'll say save and exit, and I pretty quickly have another week, and I can use my arrows to organize however I want to position the different weeks. So that's pretty easy to set up or duplicate a camp I've already got set up. Another thing you might do, if you have different kinds of camps, particularly if they might be offered, science camp is on certain days and art camp's on certain days, you may want to then set those up as separate categories. So here I've got art camp set up. If I go in and manage that, I've got my different weeks set up for art camp. I've also got science camp set up, and then I've just got 1 week set up for that so far. So that's a good way to do it if you really have different types of camp throughout the year. Now with summer camps, usually there's not going to be a prerequisite. But with other types of activities, there could be, and that's one of the nice things about Activity Manager. For example, let's say I have 3 levels of swimming. I have like guppies, tadpoles, and bluegills. And in order to advance up the ladder here, so to speak, with the swimming, you have to finish or complete the guppies satisfactorily before you can go on to tadpoles. Well, let me open up guppies. I'm going to go to Manage, and I've got a couple of weeks set up, and I'll double click on that. And you'll notice at the top, guppies itself does not have a prerequisite, and that's because this is my very first class in the series. But if I go to the next class in the series, if I go to tadpoles, Manage, and look at a week for tadpoles, you'll see at the top the prerequisite to get into tadpoles is that you had to have completed guppies. And that's a nice thing when you go to assign activities to the children. If they haven't yet met the prerequisite, it'll give you a warning. And you can choose to override that because maybe there's a reason. This kid maybe took a swimming test and passed out of it, but it will at least alert you that there was a prerequisite. So that's the basic idea of setting up your different types of activities. Let's go take a quick look at how you would assign those to people. So we'll go into Family Data and Accounting, and if you have the Activity Manager enabled, you'll have a little soccer ball icon for the activities that now appears. And so I have Wendy selected as the child. I can go and look at or assign activities just to her. By clicking on this, I'll see that right now she's got 2 activities. She'd taken Soccer Level 1 and completed it, and then that allowed us to assign her to Soccer Level 2. Well, maybe I want to also assign her to some of my summer camps. So I can go to the New button down here, pick the category. I'm just going to use my generic one called Summer Camp. And then which week, let's sign her up for week 1. And you'll see if there is a cost associated with that, when I click Save, it'll automatically charge this parent's account for that fee. If I don't want it to charge the account when I assign it to them, then I would not want to set up the fee to begin with. But here I've got that set up. I'll go ahead and say Save. I'll exit, and now she's been assigned to Summer Camp Week 1. If I want to, I can stay on her account and add another one. I could also sign her up for Summer Camp, say Week 2. You'll see Week 1 is no longer a choice because she's already signed up for that. And I have a size limit of 24, so if once I hit that limit, it's going to tell me, oh, you're already at the limit. I'll save that and exit. Now she's signed up for a couple of different weeks. So that's a pretty good way to do it if people are signing up individually and you want to process that one at a time. If I go to her ledger card right now of that account, you'll see that I've got the 2 summer camps that I just assigned, Week 1 and Week 2, have both been charged, and the family currently has a $70 balance. Exit out of there. There's another way that you can manage those camps and who's assigned to them, and that's through a batch screen, which is useful just to see who's signed up is one method, or if you had like maybe people were signing up on a manual sign-in sheet or something like that, and you want to process that, well, I've got 15 kids here, and I need to go and make sure they all get assigned to the correct week of camp. You can do that through Functions, Activity Manager. And there'll be a new screen there called Batch Assign Activities. Here you pick the category at the top, like Summer Camp. Pick an activity like Week 1. It'll show us on the right who's already assigned to Week 1. I have 3 of the 24 that I'm allowed to have that week. And then I could look up or type in the name of somebody else here. If I wanted to type in MIC to get Michael's, there's a Michael. I can click on his name, and then I can just arrow him over to the list with the right arrow. He's not added to the list, but his name's not green yet, and that simply means, yes, I've assigned him on this screen, but I haven't saved it yet. So he's sort of temporarily assigned, but he does count toward my total. So now it's showing I have 4 of 24 assigned. If I want to get back my full list of kids, I just backspace out that limit name, and I might assign somebody else like that. I could even take somebody off if I needed to and use the left arrow here to unassign them. But then once I've got the kids assigned, I just click Save. Those kids all now turn green. Any of the kids who hadn't yet been charged for that fee would now have gotten charged. And that's the basic use of the batch assign. Let me show you one that has a prerequisite, though. Let's go to, remember tadpoles? In order to get into tadpoles, you had to have taken guppies. If I show tadpoles and the regular tadpoles class, you'll see everybody shows up in red. Red simply means they haven't met the prerequisite. So these children have not been marked as having had taken the previous class. So that's one way that prerequisites can help you out. And the last thing I wanted to show you is that once children complete the activities, if you want to, you or the instructor could go through and mark off which children had completed it and even make notes about that if you wanted to. That's under Functions, Activity Manager, and that's called Batch Complete. Under Batch Complete, you'd pick the category. So let's say, for example, Summer Camp, Week 1, and we could mark and say all the kids had completed that week. And if you wanted to, you could even have a comment. It was a great week. And now, I think this is probably not as important for summer camps. but it could be really useful for things like swimming or soccer or where you need to maybe assess a child passed these skills levels or still needs to work on these skilled levels, and then if they didn't actually pass or complete that class and they might need to repeat it, for example, you'd leave them unchecked. But this is a nice way to build a process who has completed an activity, and that's it. That's our preview for the Activity Manager.
Thanks for watching this brief overview of the Activity Manager. If you're interested, please contact your software consultant at 1-800-338-3884. Thank you.